It has returned. Welcome back, everybody. Today is November 21st. Yesterday, November 20th, my Sandman S that previously had a baffle strike returned. I haven't even opened it. I'm going to do it with you live on camera here. I'm going to get this video up as soon as I possibly can. But this is an update about my previous baffle strike with my Sandman S. It was once dead, but luckily, dead air, customer service, has resurrected it. Let's get into it. Okay, here it is. As you can see, from dead air. Hasn't been opened. We're going to do this live. Hopefully we have an explanation as to what they found, what they repaired, what's going on. This took a total of 81 days to come back to me. It arrived there on September 1st, and it arrived back at my door on November 20th. That looks familiar. I'm going to have to do an edit there, but I'll show you this because there's a code on here, but it says crap happens, and they gave us a coupon code for anything sold on deadair.com. So that will be an edit there. Obviously I'm going to edit out personal info, so we'll put that back over there and we'll set that there. More decals. That's always good. And there's the suppressor, and this is what I am most interested in right here. Hopefully this is a documentation. So this looks like the RMA inspection report. It says passes alignment rod and 0.25 pin test multiple baffle strikes. Proposed level of care repair. Charlie says it record EDM. Not sure what that is. Gonna have to check that out. I'll put some text at the bottom of the screen to show that. Sandblast Cerakote passes alignment rod and 0.25 pin test. And it looks like the repair was performed by L. Garcia. So if you're out there watching, L. Garcia, I appreciate your work. Thank you for getting my suppressor back to me and repairing it. The only thing I'm disappointed with is, why did this happen? I believe the channel name is Bullet N. And I found his video. He has a Sandman S, and they found out that the chemo mount on the front of it, the suppressor, ended up having a part inside that was out of spec, and that caused his issue with his loosening up, which I think happened before I ended up having my baffle strike. Moving on. We're going to set this stuff aside. And the moment we've all been waiting for, the other side has my personal information on it, so we're going to set that aside too and out of the way. And the moment of truth. The moment of truth. Oh, I know. Sound effects are horrible. All my standard stuff. And let's see here. There it is. It looks like they did recoat it. I don't think I had maybe a scratch on it, so I'm not really sure why, but hey, that's okay. It looks like brand new. I don't know if you can see in there. Let's see if I can see the baffles. Oh yeah. It looks beautiful. So it definitely looks like this chemo portion in the front, where it does interface with our chemo adapters, is new. So I'm wondering if that was out of spec and that's why they replaced it. Let's get the borescope out, take it apart, and see how it looks. Okay, we got our borescope out. We're going to do some pictures, maybe some video, and we'll take a look and see what the inside looks like. Alright, looking pretty good so far. These baffles almost look a little different, I think, than the other ones. Other than the obvious, they're not damaged. But were they all U-shaped like this? I don't remember. You can see the welds in there. They certainly look a lot better than the other one. It looks like they put some grease or something around the end cap there. And you can see my hand. And you can see they replaced the end cap, because remember that had some damage on it too. So the end cap is new. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All 5 baffles replaced. And she looks pretty good. I will test her out. I know a lot of you commented, said that there was something going on with the spring here. It was a video that I previously already watched that showed, what the proper distance, proper gap is with the chemo mount itself that's mounted to the suppressor. I did alignment rods. I checked all that before I ended up putting it on the gun, both in 5.56, which seems a little silly, and a 30 cal alignment rod. Both of them are Geisley's. But I suspect the issue was this little piece right here on the inside, that silver piece showing up on the camera. I think that was the source of our issue and our problems that we were having. In fact, it looks a little marred up. Maybe they just remachined it. I believe that was out of spec. So let's try it out. Try mounting it up to a couple rifles and see how it looks. See how it does. We're going to start out with my 308 DMR build. I will be doing a video on this later on. This is primarily what I want this can for, that my 300 blackout. Alright, goes on. Seems to lock on there. Success. And of course we'll check it with the alignment rod later. How about the PSA jackal? This one you guys should have or will soon see a video on. I do like this one. 2 clicks. Yeah, that's about the same as the Wolfman. It's 2 clicks, but she's tight on there. Alright, we got the Wolfman right here and the Sandman S here. We'll go back to the jackal and try the Wolfman. You can see I get like 1 click out of the chemo mount. And our gapping is about the same. Maybe the Wolfman's just a little bit wider, but obviously I wouldn't be able to click it on there. Alright, 2 clicks on that one. On the PSA jackal. Now let's go to the offender. I know some of you said that PSA has barrels that are notoriously non-concentric. But again, I did check this with the alignment rod. This is the Wolfman. Obviously it's not rated for 7.62 by 39 because it doesn't even go on and pass through with this size muzzle brake on it. However, Sandman S, she locks on there good and tight. No issues. And again, we'll check with the alignment rod just to be sure, make sure it's good. But that is on there. It's not going anywhere. And I am just going to fiddle with this for a minute to see if I can replicate the issue that I had with it not locking or loosening afterwards. Okay, I cannot replicate it. So again, I think that initial shoulder on the inside of the chemo mount was our offender, and I believe it was out of spec. I wish they would have specified that in the repair documentation. But it's threading on just fine. I can't repeat it. I just tried here for a couple minutes, seeing if I could, which I could before. I believe that was our issue. And obviously, if the barrel was non-concentric, like if that were the case, I don't see how it would have passed with the other rounds that I fired beforehand before somehow loosening up and then having a baffle strike. This doesn't make sense to me. So if it can fire one round through it, I would say the barrel's probably pretty concentric. And not to mention, the alignment rods don't lie. I kind of trust Geisley. They make pretty good stuff. All right, let's try this on the 350 Legend. There'll also be a video on this rifle. Oh, that locks on there good. No issues. And the Wolfman obviously does. I've already shot this quite a bit with it. Like I said, there'll be a review on this build that I did coming out at a later date after deer season. I say we have success. She's fixed. It's good to have it home. The only question is, am I going to put this on the 350 Legend or am I going to put this on the 350 Legend? Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. Obviously this is made for 30 cal, this is made for 9mm, 350 Legend, a different diameter. Okay, first off, what happened? If you haven't seen that video, I'll try to put a link somewhere or a link in the description. If you haven't seen the original video of the baffle strike on this Dead Air Sandman S, I encourage you to watch that, check it out. You can see all the carnage, all the damage. I used the bore scope to really show the detail of what happened. I want to add in a little footage of that right here on what happened. It was my PSA 762x39 build. Did all myself. Used alignment rods before I ended up putting on my Sandman S. Took it out to the range. It was like the fourth or the fifth shot through it. This loosened up somehow. I suspected, after further research and watching Bullet N's channel, he had a problem with this taper mount inside the chemo that mates up with the Dead Air chemo system on your firearm. However, I didn't know what happened at the time. I thought it could have been user error, maybe, but all in all, we'll get into that later. I use this on several other rifles, 5.56, 308, and 300 Blackout without any issues. I only used this suppressor, I think, 2 other times. One was on 5.56, and I think I fired maybe a handful of rounds through my 308 with it. So when this baffle strike occurred, I had maybe 80, 100 rounds through it. So here's my final thoughts. This is what I think happened. I think this taper was out of spec somehow, some way. And on that particular muzzle brake on the 762x39 PSA build that I did, it just didn't get along. It did get along with the 5.56. There was some room for error there, maybe. I don't know, that's my theory. And the other part, shooting it through the 308, again, it was the flash hider type muzzle device, so maybe that had something to do with it. It made it up. It got along a little bit better. I don't know. But El Garcia, you're the one that fixed this thing. If you're out there watching and you work for Dead Air and it's not going to get you in trouble, please comment below. Or if you still have my information, look me up. send me a direct message. I won't release that you said anything. Just don't get yourself in trouble. And tell me what you found, because that's the one thing that was left out. I don't know exactly what was wrong with it that caused this baffle strike. Do you think it was user error, El Garcia? Comment below if you can. Again, don't get in trouble. In addition, El Garcia, if you're out there, or if anybody else knows, please comment below. Let me know what you think the EDM in the description of repairs is. I just don't know. I don't know what EDM means. I know what a recore is. I know what sandblasting is. I know what the Cerakote is. And obviously they replaced this end cap because that was damaged in the process of the baffle strike too. But I just don't know what EDM is. Take your guess below. Now, there were other comments on the video that said, oh, dead air and their quality control and so on and so forth. That may be true. I don't know. I'm not some shill for dead air. I pay for everything that you see on this channel on my own. If there's ever a point that someone sends me something for free, I will disclose that. I will let you know, and I will probably be more critical on that item than anything else. Obviously, there's a little bit of bias when I spend a little bit of money that I hard earned on something. There's, you know, I want it to be good, and I might side a little bit favorably for it. But if I don't have any skin in the game, I'll probably be a little more critical. Now, I have 4 dead air suppressors. I have the Wolfman, I have the CR5, and I have the Odessa 9. I have had 0 issues with any of them. I've heard there's been some issues with quality control and some issues with CR5s blowing up after a mag. From what I understand, Dead Air farms out a lot of their production, or maybe even all of their production, to third parties. So that falls on third parties, and obviously it reflects on the brand of Dead Air. Do I fault Dead Air for that? A little bit, because they have to have contractors or third parties that meet their standards. So I'm sure when something happens or there's a batch of bad suppressors, that reflects on them, and their brand is damaged to a degree. Do I think Dead Air is a bad company, though? Do I think they put out crap suppressors? Absolutely not. Because they might have issues. There might be production problems. There's production problems in every single thing you buy out there. The car that you're driving at some point in time probably had a recall because there was a production issue. Somewhere, somebody, some human, we're all capable of mistakes, messed up. They screwed something up. Something was designed wrong. Something just didn't pan out. It's the same thing with suppressors. Yes, they're relatively simple, but the design that goes into them, they're not just, you know, some baffles in a tube. They have to be stout. They have to be measured within fractions or thousandths of an inch in order to work properly and not have a baffle strike. So if one machine tool wears down, one machine gets out of spec, something gets bumped, some issue happens, some machine breaks down, you can end up having an imperfect or a defective product. It happens in every line of manufacturing out there. So I am not going to fault Dead Air for that because, one, they stand behind their product. It's no questions asked. I sent this thing back. Was it my fault? I don't know. Was it their fault? I don't know. But they fixed it. I don't even think they looked at my video or saw my video. Mike Pappas has no idea who I am. This is a brand new channel. I've got like 60 subscribers. They don't know me from anybody else on the street. I don't matter. But I do matter to them as a customer. And they stood behind their product. So am I going to buy more Dead Air suppressors? You know, I wrestled with that question just the other day because I was looking at possibly getting something that can shoot a higher caliber. I have 10 millimeter and I have 45. And I want something to handle that. Is it going to be a Dead Air suppressor? Let's wait and see. Quite honestly, I'm 50-50. I've been looking at Yankee Hill. But one thing I will say is I do love the chemo suppressors. I love the ease of use. I love the chemo mount. It's great. I think there's room for flaws. There's room for problems, possibly, that we saw here. And that's not okay. But in the grand scheme of things, if I was just unlucky, that's okay. I mean, how many suppressors, how many Sandman S's are out there working without issue? Ever. Some of you commented below, said you have one. and you have, you know, X number of rounds through it with no issues. Well, it's the luck of the draw, quite honestly. Now, if we're talking about they had 30, 40, 50% of their suppressors had issues and got sent back, yeah, those might be numbers that would think I shouldn't buy from them. But I don't think Dead Air is anywhere near that at all. Now, the whole timeline is September 1st, they received this suppressor. November 20th, it was back at my door. 81 days. When I emailed them for an update 30 days ago, they said 50 to 60 days. Obviously, it went a little beyond that. You know, that's okay. That puts me at 242 days of waiting on my suppressor. 161 to get it, and another 81 to have it repaired, unfortunately. But I can live with that. I actually got on their live stream. They have, Dead Air has Friday live streams on YouTube, I think Rumble, and somewhere else too. If you have a question, you have a concern, get on there. They're actually really responsive. One of the questions I ended up asking was, I had the idea that when you have an RMA, a repair order, you send your suppressor in, they have a system that we can constantly see the status that it's in. We can say it's in queue, it's waiting to be repaired, it's currently being repaired, it has been repaired, it's going through quality control and inspection, and then obviously you get an email when it ships back to you. Having those kind of updates is a little security blanket, you could say, for your customers. And they said, they actually responded on there, that they're in the process of doing that such thing. Something to keep people updated. I know when I ordered my Stealth Arms Platypus, man, I got great detail on where it was in the weeks that I was waiting for it to be sent out. There's going to be a review on that coming soon, and I documented all of that information. I'm waiting to have a few more rounds through that before I can actually do a review on it. But I will say, you're going to like it. You should stay tuned for that video. Overall, I like the can. I like all my Dead Air cans. They work great. I look forward to doing reviews comparing these cans on different guns and seeing how they work and comparing them to other brands maybe later on down the road. Now we come to the video where I don't ask you to like or subscribe, but I do ask you to find a new shooter, son, daughter, grandkids, niece, nephew, take them out. Teach them about firearms, teach them about firearms safety, and teach them about the history of firearms in this country. Because if they end up falling in love with guns, they're never going to have money for drugs. We'll see you next time, guys.